Live.
Hey,
The United States is spending roughly $1 billion a day on war. And at the same time, healthcare costs for everyday people are projected to have risen, 6 to 11% per person in 2025. So let's be clear. There is always money, just not for you.
okay. Now, we just spent the last 36 hours in a hospital here in Portugal because they had to have knee surgery, not total knee replacement or anything like that. It's called the HTO, the high tibial osteo, osteotomy. Osteotomy. I always say that right.
I don't know.
So that should prevent me from ever really having to have a total knee replacement, which they don't really like doing. So it was a trip, to see firsthand what a functioning healthcare system actually looks like
Yeah, when it's designed for people.
when it's designed for people.
And not profit, right? So if y'all come here in June for our meetup, right, you will hear from folks from all over the world about what healthcare systems are like outside of the United States.
Mhm. But before we get into it, drop this in the chat. What is the most you or someone you know has paid for a medical issue in the United States?
And here's your trivia question. This is the easy one, y'all. What country spends the most per person on healthcare, but does not have universal healthcare coverage? A, the United States, B, Germany, C, Japan, or D, Canada. We'll come back to that. But first, okay, let's introduce ourselves because today is Legend Thursday. And we've got at least 2 Utopian Legends backstage to chat with us about all the stuff that's going on. Hey, y'all. My name's Halisi.
And I'm Rick. Welcome to our Black Utopia.
On our channel, we talk about money, travel, and life abroad. We help people who look like us, who are getting close to retirement age and forgot to plan. We help you get your money straight so that you can retire on time or maybe even early.
And abroad ain't bad either.
Abroad ain't bad. All right, sweetheart, what are we talking about today?
So today we're talking about surgery in Europe and Black Americans' experience with the healthcare system outside of the USA. Today, we're going to do 3 things. We're going to break down what we just experienced in a Portuguese hospital. We're going to explain how universal and private systems can work together and connect to the bigger issues. Why the US always has money for war, but not for your health.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to save one detail until the end that will make you question everything you've been told about what's normal.
Now, y'all know that this is Utopian Legend Thursday, so we are going to bring our legends on screen. But first, if you're new to our channel, then you might not know. Back in 2018, Rick and I got a wake-up call, y'all.
Yes, we did.
We looked at our money, and it looked crazy.
It was crazy how my knee is feeling right now.
Oh,
Crazy.
no.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I'm a little loopy because I've been taking some drugs too. They're legal drugs.
But we did get our financial act together and we went from negative 22,000 to over 1.1 million in net worth, y'all. If we can do it. Ailey.
Hi.
Y'all can do it too, right?
Hey.
We were talking about this behind the scenes, y'all. That's why I called her out. Because, sometimes we have to be the person that shows our family what is possible.
Mm-hmm.
What is possible, All right, y'all. So, this is Thursday, so we don't take questions from the audience necessarily. But if you are a legend, you can come on and chitty chat with us every other Thursday. Thursday. So first, we're going to tell you about our experience, but not the best part. So the check-in process. Because it's different here than it is in the United States, right? So I'm going to let you take that because I was just standing behind him. Go ahead.
So first of all, you're in a foreign country speaking foreign language, mm-hmm. and they might or might not understand. And the lady who was helping me, I asked her if she spoke English. She said no. I was like, okay, that's kind of rough. But then she started to helping me, and she asked me for identification in the form of a passport, which I did not have my passport on me. I had my card, my
Residence.
residence card. I said I have my residence card. Oh no, yeah, 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 yeah. So I gave her my residency card. She filled out the paperwork, and then she gave me my paperwork and told us to go have a seat. There, a lady would come over to us.
And she did speak English.
Yeah,
She just didn't speak fluent English.
yeah. It's like you speak
Better than I
better
speak
than I speak
Portuguese.
Portuguese.
So,
But that was that. Then she made the mistake of you always have to check your paperwork. Always check your paperwork because as we're sitting there waiting to be led back to the back room to get ready for surgery, I looked at my paperwork and it had me at 59 years old and a totally different name. And I was like, okay. I told Alicia, I said, this ain't me. So I had to go find the other lady that took us upstairs. So she just took the label off, then she disappeared.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think one of the things is I the staff was not rushed.
No, they weren't. They weren't rushed at all.
So somebody's got their thing up too much, and I can hear myself in your it's there's a feedback loop. So
But yeah, they were calm. It's like, okay, we could take care of it, no problem. And she disappeared. Then you ended up going downstairs.
yeah, I just wanted to make sure that he was in the system the right way because I think what happened is people were just printing labels and she
Yeah,
grabbed the label and stuck it
and
on
stuck it
there
on
and probably his label ended up on somebody
somebody
else's.
else's.
In the end, that wasn't that big of a deal now that I understood what the purpose of that piece of paperwork was. But the thing is the system is so different. So when you check in, the first thing you do is you pull a number. First thing that you do is pull a number, and
Mhm.
that's just about for every place in Portugal, right? And then you wait. Then you go back, you check in, you go back and sit down. Now this is for surgery. It's different for it's not this complicated when it's just a doctor's appointment. And then they take you to a second waiting room where they start getting you ready for
They're
pre-op,
prepping you. Yeah.
right? How long did we wait there?
We weren't there. What I changed, and I want to say we weren't even in there for 10 minutes.
Oh no, we were upstairs in that little balcony
Yeah,
place for
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah,
30
yeah, yeah.
minutes. It was about 30 minutes. It wasn't no 10 minutes because I was getting restless. But you know, you they don't ask you or how are you paying or any of that because you pay before you even get to the hospital. They send you a bill and you know exactly how much you're going to pay
Mm-hmm.
before you even go to the hospital. So anyway, so we will stop there. The other thing I don't know. I've never had surgery in the United States, so I don't know. But I've had hospital experiences with my dad. Um, but they send you an email with all of the stuff to prep, and that's for just about any procedure.
Mm-hmm.
So right?
Yeah, I had
That's
everything ahead
coming.
of time.
Yep, yep.
And once we got upstairs too, everything was clockwork. Everything ran real smooth.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We will get to that. So, the one thing that I think is different is I didn't see anybody with no attitude. Nobody with an attitude. The system assumes that you deserve care, right? Yet, like sometimes I saw, especially with Kaiser, that it was like, okay, are you a Medicare Medicaid patient? Or are you full paying? And there was a difference in
Mm.
service.
Oh,
Yes, yes. So anyway, Jackie, Ailey, do you guys want to chime in on anything dealing with the systems that you've dealt with? Um, let's see, I can't hear you, Jackie. Make sure you're not muted on your end. I'm sorry, y'all. Ailey, can you talk?
Of course.
Okay.
I should be fine. I can see it from the microphone in the window. It's showing green.
Okay.
Well, but Jackie's microphone is on mute.
It is on mute. I'm trying to unmute the mic. Okay, I think she's going to go out and come back in. It looks like that's what she's saying. There.
It's off mute, but it's okay here.
Yeah, let me remove her and then put her back on, see if that helps. So, Ailey, you were talking about all of those different bills that you got, that you received. So why don't you tell the audience that while I try to work with Jackie and see what's going on?
Mainly what I had, when I had my bike accident last April, I didn't have insurance. And at that time, I thought it would be covered because I was doing delivery. And that wasn't the case. They went after using Progressive, and we had to go against the driver who was driving the vehicle, who had crossed in front of me and caused me to run into the back of her truck.
Ooh.
And so,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So she wound up having to pay for part of the cost. So that was the part of the insurance. But it wasn't just that, because here in Florida, PIP does the same thing. And so get this, that's after they got the settlement from that part.
Mm-hmm.
I freaked with the bill they sent me. I was like, oh, okay.
So,
yeah, okay. It was hospital bill came up to my part. They want me to pay $64,673. That's the hospital part. Then on top of it, they want me to pay. That one's that bill.
Yeah, I remember you saying that there was another bill for like 600 and something. And then the doctor had a separate bill, and then another bill for 1,000. I mean, so when it was all said and done,
1,573.
Okay.
That was just another I mean, that one shows that it was for. This was the CT scan, because I had a CT scan. This was just for the doctors for the CT scan. That's for that. That one was.
And that's the thing.
573.
That's the thing. It's understanding the system, and it seems like in the United States, it's just a grift.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a grift. Oh my gosh, Jackie, can you
hear me now?
Yes, there you go. I thought I saw you.
Good.
You know, I've been pretty lucky. First of all, I work for the VA, so I was able to keep my health insurance from the VA, not the veterans insurance, but Blue Cross Blue Shield. So I've been pretty lucky. The only thing I've seen, and I have had surgery, but it's like 3 or 4 years later, I'm getting like a $40 bill or $80 bill, and you can't remember and try to go back, you know? So sometimes it's like just easier to pay. And the other thing I noticed, because I do use the VA, but not as my main source. And so you have to stay and make an appointment every couple of years to stay in the system. So I made an appointment recently, and they sent me a thing saying, bring my insurance card. I have never had to bring my insurance card to the VA, you know, so to me, it seems like they're trying to not pay, you know, like they're trying to
find reasons.
My insurance for my medical care. And somebody else told me, they said, just don't bring it. Don't tell them you have it, you know, so.
See, you know, as I just said, it seems to me that in the United States, they want to do whatever they can not to treat you or not to pay. And they want to charge you as much as possible.
Right.
Right? Like it's even the nonprofit organizations like Blue Cross Blue Shield is supposed to be a nonprofit, but they don't act like it. They certainly don't act like it. And so understanding how the system works here, they have universal health care, but as an immigrant, you have to have private health care as well. And I think we will probably always keep it. Excuse me, even after we become citizens here.
Well, I'm pretty sure your private, and I mean the private insurance got to be a lot cheaper than what they want from me.
Our private insurance for two people with Rick had a pre-existing and of a certain age and all of that stuff. I want to say it's gone up and it's about $2,600.
About $2,600.
Yeah, per year.
I'll take that. Want to trade?
And that's for both of us. So, so we're going to get to the price of, we're going to get to how much it costs for, I think we might've said something last week, but we'll get to how much it costs for the knee surgery. So I just said how much our private health insurance costs, and so how it works here is that the private system knows that you have access to the universal healthcare system, especially if you are a legal resident. You have access. And so they work hand in hand, and especially with the prescription part of it, right? So I think that's another reason why the health insurance is lower, is because certain things you're just going to have handled at a public hospital. So
I see.
Yeah. So, and when you think public, don't think MLK, y'all. I mean, everyone has access to the public system. So, and everybody uses the public system. It's not just something that the indigent use, which is how it is in the United States. Which sucks. I mean, and that's why it is how it is, because they act like it's a privilege. They act like it's a privilege, and it simply isn't. So, having private insurance, of course, speeds up the process, because once you decided that this was going to happen, how far out did you have to schedule the surgery?
We had actually scheduled my surgery, I want to say a week, 2 weeks at the most.
No, it was longer than that.
Oh.
What? It wasn't?
No.
Okay. I think it was about 3 weeks. But yeah, because people, assume that places where you have universal health care, that you have to wait 10 months, 2 years to get an appointment, because we've heard horror stories from places.
You are right. It was because I did my PT first.
Exactly.
I started the PT, so it was about 3 weeks.
Yeah. But it was 3 weeks out because they wanted to do the physical therapy first and strengthen it before they did the surgery. So that was why. Otherwise, if that wasn't needed, it could have been sooner.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And so, the insurance here, they don't act like a gatekeeper the way in our insurance in the United States acted like a gatekeeper. I think the only thing is they want to make sure that it's not pre-existing.
Yeah.
They're not going to cover it.
Somebody's covered it before.
You're right. Then they're not going to cover it unless you can prove that, it was covered before. So like I'm thinking about, the little procedure that I had to get. And I mean, it wasn't a little procedure. It was surgery because I was knocked out. I had a tube down my throat and the whole 9 yards. But I walked out the same day. We stayed overnight.
Yes.
For Rick's surgery.
This then, would it be a few years ago, back in 21? Yeah, December 21, I had a blood clot. Would that be considered a pre-existing condition?
If it was a one-off, I don't know. I think you would ask your doctor there, is it a pre-existing condition? Because things can cause a blood clot,
Right.
like a fall can cause a blood clot. But if you're always getting blood clots, and hence your doctor has told you to take a baby aspirin or something like that, then that's a pre-existing. But having something now, having a stroke one time, yeah, that's a pre-existing.
Right.
But a blood clot, I mean, there's lots of ways you can get a blood clot.
Right.
Are you on a blood thinner?
Not anymore, but
They took
I
you off?
was at the time. I was on Eliquis.
Okay.
For that specifically.
For that specific reason.
Like I would ask your doctor. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor, but I'm just using common sense, right? Does
So
he
I'm
or
gonna have
she
to get
believe
a
that this
medical
is something?
review. So I'm gonna have to get a medical review before I apply for private insurance then.
No, not necessarily. It depends on the insurance company, but we didn't. We just had to prove that
We were covered
he was-
continuously.
that we had continuous coverage. So, but that's how it works in Portugal. That's not necessarily how it works everywhere, y'all.
Right.
Okay. And so that's the reason to get into the expat groups, the Black expat groups especially, and ask these questions so that you're prepared, right? And you know the questions to ask. So some places may not require any of that. And some places may be so inexpensive that, and I we're speaking outside of Portugal, that maybe all you need is tragic care,
Right.
and not for just everyday stuff, right?
Yes.
It just depends on what the cost is, what your budget is, et cetera, et cetera. Because without insurance, a mammogram here is like $170. I mean, 170.
I take
170.
anything.
Not €1.70. No, like 170 euros without insurance.
I know what you mean. I would take
But
that.
it's like 500 or 600 in Denver.
Mine was, I had no copay for free, but I pay like $285 a month for my insurance. But that covers dental and vision.
Okay.
Yeah, and ours doesn't cover dental because you can basically pay out of pocket. Now, even the people who have had like root canals and stuff like that, they've been very affordable.
But I have to tell you, I have a sad story about, I had a really good friend in Cape Verde, a young woman. She was only 41. And Cape Verde and Portugal have a agreement. So if it's something serious, they can send their medical patients to Portugal. So she was diagnosed with cancer. So she had to get a transfer to Portugal, and it took them so long to get the transfer done. I mean, I think they started in March. She didn't get transferred till September. So when she got to Portugal, they told her all her tests were too old. She had to have them repeated. And it took them a month to get the, I think they were doing some kind of imaging, and it took them a month. And when she had the appointment in a month, they were on strike. So now it's pushed back to another month. Anyways, it got pushed back for about 3 or 4 months. And by the time they opened her, her cancer, she died within like 3 weeks after they opened her.
Oh.
That's horrible.
She had insurance, but it was insurance from Cape Verde. So I don't know how they treated that.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. And you have to have advocates. You even have to have advocates here. We have advocates, and so if you are someone that cannot afford advocates and you are totally just depending upon you calling the bureaucracy, I could see that happening.
And they put her up in a hotel and everything for the whole time while she was waiting for her care. But it took them about 3 or 4 months before they got to the surgery.
That is just heartbreaking.
It
just heartbreaking.
And she had a 2-year-old and a 17-year-old. I still stay in touch with her family.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, that's what happened. That's basically what happened to my best friend. But more of it was in her control. This was the first time we were in Portugal, and we had to stay in.
I had to stay overnight. I've
Yeah,
never had surgery before myself, outside of tonsils when I was 5 years old. So we had to stay overnight, and it was no problem. And Halisi spent the night. They made sure she had a bed set up in the room. She had, they gave her vouchers for food,
Awesome.
breakfast, and stuff like that. So yeah, it was like,
yeah. They brought towels.
yeah,
They made up the bed. It probably would have given me a lunch voucher too if I was there.
yeah.
For the
That's
next
what
day.
I call health care.
Right? Can you believe that? Like, I was flabbergasted. Now I know that happens, but I thought maybe just with when you have kids staying overnight, stuff like that. But then I noticed in the main reception area that a lot of people had roller bags, and I was like, they sure bringing a lot of stuff. And it's probably because it was two people's stuff.
Oh, I see.
Right. So this is not luxury. This is just what happens. Now, again, we have private healthcare insurance. We pay, about 250 a month if we paid that way. We don't. We pay every 6 months. So I just know how much it is a year. But if you do the math, it's 200 and something a month.
Mm-hmm.
For the
And
two.
so for the two of us, yes. But for some folks, that amount per month is a luxury. We understand that. So this is what it is at this budget. And the place was packed. So there was a lot of other people who could afford it as well. Now, they have different insurances, and some of them are younger and this and that and the other, right? But the system really seems to be designed around human needs as opposed to just profits.
Right.
Right. And also, I mean, think about it. It is easier for the nurses. If I'm there overnight, of course, I was out. I was so tired because I was awake so early. But I did wake up. I did hear you go to the restroom. And if he needed help, he didn't have to call a nurse. I'm right there. So they could be saving money too at the same time by allowing, by hosting, another family member to stay in the room.
But the nurses that I had, the night nurse, and
Well,
they were in and out constantly.
Yeah,
Every time I turn around, the lady's putting ice on my knee. I was like, she freaked me out one time because I woke up and I thought it was Felici. It wasn't. It was the nurse that came in and put ice on my knee. I was like, oh. Or to change medications.
I'd be really interested in finding out more about the procedure you had. You said to prevent knee replacement. That's very interesting.
Yeah, so
almost everybody on my team has had a knee replacement. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's they cut into your tibia. Excuse me. And they do a wedge thing and they adjust it to where it straightens it out. If you're bow-legged or different things like that. So it took the pressure off of this inside of my knee and it takes the weight and stuff and puts it in center for you. Wow. And then there's a little metal piece and stuff that they put in there. So
yeah, I don't know that this would apply for people in general. I think it's different for everybody because he is bow-legged.
I ain't that bow-legged.
You bow-legged.
Do you have pins?
Is there a pin or two?
Yes, there's 4 pins and a plate.
Okay.
It gives me the
But you know something? I had an epidural. Oh, those things are great.
Oh, yeah. I know that. I would prefer the epidural other than going under.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, so think about that. He had an epidural because I remember in the States when you get pregnant, like that's extra money. And I remember my friend, was she having twins? I can't remember, but I can't remember if it was the twins or after that. But anyway, she decided at the last minute she wanted an epidural, and they said, "Okay, your husband needs to rush down there right now and go pay for it."
I don't know. That's terrible.
That's the United States, and that was back in the
Mm.
90s. That was back in the 90s. So you know it's probably worse now. Yeah, because I'm old. You know, we weren't having babies, 10 years ago. That was a long time ago. But the whole cost. So this is, the pre-op and the surgery and the overnight stay and feeding him semi good food.
Hospital food.
Letting me stay overnight, giving me the voucher, all of this stuff was 700 and something euro.
Please,
Out of
Lord.
our pocket.
That was our
That
portion.
was our portion.
That was our portion. So, obviously, they're making money. They have to be. They have to be. But it doesn't feel like extortion.
Yeah.
And it feels like extortion. When you talk about $65,000 just for the hospital bill, you haven't added in, the ambulance or any of that stuff. Who can afford that? Who can just write a check?
No way.
I mean,
But
yeah,
Right.
but
I mean-
eventually I will.
We could write a check, but it would hurt. It would
Yeah.
hurt like hell.
Yes, it would. Yes,
Like
it would.
I'd be like, shoot.
Should we rethink this thing?
No, that wouldn't be an option.
No.
But I mean, ooh.
But it's so bad because, like we said in the opening, they're spending billions of dollars on bombs, dropping bombs, but they can't.
Exactly.
And then they're taking everybody's health care away from them. They won't give any money for health care. That's
Right.
insane.
I mean, the major cuts that they did to Medicaid, the major cuts that they did the delayed cuts that come from Medicare, right? Plus SNAP benefits and stuff.
Mhm.
People are delaying getting health care. They're getting into debt or they're dying. In the richest country on earth, supposedly. Again, they got money for war, but not for the poor.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy. But this is where the priorities are right now. This is where the priorities are. They're forcing pregnant women into labor to have C-sections instead of being allowed to deliver naturally. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. So, Benita, our advocate is Serenity Care. Y'all know that. It'll be in the description below. That's who we use. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what you do if you stay in the United States. I don't know. Like, how do you prepare, for $65,000 like that? Well, actually, it's more. That was just the hospital bill. So it's probably 72.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for that? And I mean, is that what you're preparing for in retirement in the United States? Just paying for health care? If you've paid off your house, so you don't have to worry about that. Now you just have to worry about taxes and maintenance and health
And
care.
healthcare.
Health care.
Yeah. That's
It is crazy. It is crazy. And it's especially crazy when the food sucks and it's not even clean food. And all that processed stuff and the high fructose corn syrup and the lack of regard, and they're using forever pesticides and all of this stuff on United States food, which is against the law in a lot of other places.
right.
And they always make it seem like it's other people's stuff that comes in that's dirty. So they're poisoning us in the United States. Well, y'all, because I don't live there anymore.
Same.
But it's probably still in my body,
It's bad. Yeah.
right?
It's horrible.
They're poisoning our kids. They're poisoning my parent, right? They're poisoning my brothers and sisters. And then when you get sick, they're like, well,
Then they want to take all your money from you.
I don't know if you deserve health care. And they run the nurses ragged to where they all have attitude problems, you know. They run the doctors ragged. They don't give good care, not because they're not smart, not because they're not brilliant. I'm not going to say that. It's because those damn insurance companies act like they've got quotas and stuff in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
You know, it's crazy.
Yeah. For the question that's being asked, am I walking around? Am I walking? Yes, but very, very slowly, first of all, because I'm not used to crutches. I really haven't had to use crutches in my life. So that's an art within itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to do it very slowly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you do have crutches, or you're saying
I have crutches. I've never used them before. I've never used crutches in my life. I had no need for it.
I had them twice.
So now I have to learn how to use them, because there's a way to use them.
Yeah, and he tries to walk too fast and everything. But like I think the level of care, the kind of care, when we left, when we checked out, first of all, I said, is there a checkout process? And then she's like, no. She said, did the doctor come see you and give you the follow-up, when you come back and yada yada? Yes. Got your prescriptions? Yes. Okay. When you're ready to go, we'll bring a wheelchair. And so the lady walked us down, and then had Rick sit down, came over to me to the information center, asked in Portuguese, where's the closest that the Uber can come and pick him up? And then told me where to wait, the closest that they could wait to the door for an Uber. She went out of her way to go ask the information desk and then come back and tell me. Like this, good and doggone well, that there is no way that would be the case
here
in the United States. Right? And so she was like high-fiving us and all this and that on the way out, right? Asking us in Portuguese, what did we think about Trump and all of this stuff? Oh yeah, everybody's paying attention. Everyone's paying attention. Okay. So, even our neighbor upstairs is talking about it, It's no joke. But, the little bit of Portuguese I know, we were having that conversation and she was high-fiving us and this and that. And this is a nurse, and that is the healthcare system that we experienced here in Portugal.
All my nurses are great. My doctor is fantastic. All the doctors, because there was a room full of doctors.
Yeah. So they did construction on his knee.
Yeah, it sounded like they were building a house. All that clanging and sawing. I was like, what y'all doing over there? Because I was awake the whole time.
And then they gave him 4 different types of pain pills.
Oh yeah.
But only one has a little bit of opioid in it. The rest of them are just like some heavy duty ibuprofen. they don't believe in all that oxycodone and all that kind of stuff. Shoot, you probably have to be on your deathbed to get something like that here. I'm telling you. But I think when it comes to retirement, healthcare has to be one of the things that you really, really do plan for, right?
Yeah.
And including long-term care. Long-term care. So this has got to be in the plan. We can't leave it up to Tramado Traumato.
That's the one I said. That's the one with the
Is that
opioid.
is that the one with
Yeah,
the opioid?
he was.
Okay.
He knows.
See,
He knows.
one of our utopians who is Portuguese, or maybe he's Brazilian. I'm not sure. I think he's Portuguese. Um, he be on here spreading
He said,
spreading
I
knowledge.
took one once.
Yeah,
I've taken 3.
yeah. So I think when you move abroad, right, it's not just about escaping the madness. And it's not just about lifestyle. It looks like we're always just having fun and this and that.
Mhm.
No, life happens and all of that stuff. It really is about also preparing for, the worst that can happen, And so, all right, y'all. Any final? Oh, wait, we got to tell the trivia question. So you all know
Of course.
that it's the United States.
Of course.
Of course, you know that,
That's a given.
right? You know that. So I just want to know. I still want to know what's the most you all have paid for healthcare in the United States, or know of someone who has paid in the United States. So if you guys are ready to start thinking seriously about it, you come to the meetup. You can talk to folks. You can book time with us. You can get the Move Abroad Toolkit. Start there. Any final words, A. Lee and Jackie?
No, I think that, I think the medical care, I was a nurse practitioner, so I got to stick up for people. But I think it's the pressure. When I retired, I decided to retire because they were putting so many patients, I started feeling it was dangerous. So I don't feel like the practitioners aren't good. Like you were saying, they're a lot of stress. It's too
Yeah,
much
I agree with you.
pride. Yeah,
Yeah.
they wanted
Well,
us to see so many people.
I know the doctors outside of work, so I know how brilliant they are. It's so unfair. It's unfair, and like you said, can be dangerous. And I've heard that from a lot of nurses, nurse practitioners, and some doctors. Ailey?
Mhm.
Well, as you know, with what I am going through, but that's not stopping me because it's a medical bill. They know I don't make that much right now. And so I'm not too worried about that because they specifically said that healthcare can't go on your credit report.
Credit.
Right. And
Thank you.
so
I think that was a Biden thing, right? Sleepy Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was him.
exactly, I praise God he did that because otherwise, this crazy fool in the office is going to do
Yeah.
something. I'm like,
Yeah.
he did nothing for me. So that was a blessing. And that's the reason why I'm leaving it at that. And I just, I hate to say it, but I got used to military care because when I was married military, that gave me free health care when we were overseas. And that's what I was used to. And when I had my first son back in 92, he wound up was covered under there with, I know I was at the time because I wasn't married and I did marry, they wound up giving me Medicaid because I was low income, and I wound up getting what is it that they usually give you if you're active, if your spouse is active duty?
TRICARE.
Okay.
I don't think it was TRICARE. It was something else. I just know that the bill.
I don't know.
The bill was in the 100 when it came down to it because Medicaid spoke of it and they gave me an epidural because I had a C-section.
Yeah. The fact that they tie healthcare to employment is disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It to me, it's a form of slavery.
It is.
Because, it's just, anyway, we are going to wrap this up because this is Excuse me, it's supposed to be a Thursday short. So y'all, tickets are now for sale for our meetup. I'm so excited. We are going to have so much fun. We are going to have so much fun. So I've given the legends the head start. We still have some room at our Juneteenth celebration, but the main events, of course, are the 15th and the 16th. This year, we're going to the Silver Coast. So Monday is going to be a shop experience, and then we're going to the Silver Coast the next day, and also to have lunch and have a wine tasting up there as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun this year. Hope y'all are coming. Information is in the excuse me, in the description below. Sorry about that, guys. One-on-one coaching we offer. If you need help getting your money straight, that's Beyond the Bling, and become a member.
Yes, join us.
I don't know what happened. Something got cut in my throat.
Okay.
I have no idea, so we're gonna let you go.
We love you. Thank you for the well wishing.
Yes.
Not a dream, a destination. Our Black Utopia.